Let me tell you, when you first reached out, I've always known your content.
Yeah.
And I was like, he can't be like that all the time.
No, you see one slice of me. You see my sense of humor. But I'm a fully well-formatted person who has likes and dislikes and interests and opinions outside of just what I do online.
What was the home life like?
Home life was decent. My parents, like, they fought a lot. Right. And so I kind of just learned how to not be seen, how to, like, kind of move around in shadows and stuff. I had a really big mushroom trip. I'm not recommending that anyone do psychedelics for psychological help. It came from a place of insecurity where I was like, I don't want anyone to think that I'm not independent.
Where do you think you learned to hustle from?
So a big thing was,
so where were you in the social media world when you like started to take off? Were you already big on like Twitch or?
I had a little bit of a following. So for like 2.5 years, I worked for this YouTube channel in Canada called Most Amazing Top 10. It was really cheesy content. It was like top 10 lists. That was it. But they had a huge following. They had like 7 million subscribers. So through that, I was able to get 50K on Instagram. So I had like a base.
Were you like a host on it?
Yes.
Got you.
And then what's it called? Then COVID hit. So then we couldn't do stand-up anymore. And so I was like, actually what it was there was a couple surrounding cities around Toronto. I was living in Toronto at this time that were doing shows. We'd go to do a weekend at some place, and one of my buddies was making TikToks. And he was getting like 3,000 views on a TikTok. And I was like, man, we were doing like 150-seater. And I was like, we got to do like 20 sold-out shows here for as many people to see me as many people saw you on this video that took you like a couple minutes to make.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to start hammering this TikTok thing. So I went to work, and there was a few young people that worked there that knew social, they knew YouTube and all this stuff. And I was like, what do I got to do? And they were like, you got to do mirror rants, you got to do stitches, duets. And then I started just cranking out content. And I started doing like
when you say cranking out, how much of your day would you spend just cutting up stuff and doing it? Or did you have people to help you out?
It was all me. It was all me. And so I would spend probably like at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half. It was, I would make like 6 videos a day that were all just really focused on jokes. Like I would react to something and be like, how many jokes can I pack into this reaction? And then I would spend another hour and a half researching how to do well on the platform. That's where my tagline came from. One dude was like, there's always a call to action on YouTube. YouTubers are always like, hey, make sure you like and subscribe.
Yep.
No one does a call to action on TikTok or on these other social platforms. So then I started fucking around with a few different things, and that's how I came up with follow me, you fucking idiots, at the end of every video, to just have a call to action. And it turned into a big hook, and it turned into like, hey, you're that guy. Like that's how people got to know me. Yeah.
That's so interesting, man, because people like me, we see people like you put out so much content, right? And we go, oh, it's so hard. And then it's just, you got to learn it. You just got to do it. Like anything. Yeah. And I'm so consumed with a family and stand up. You just got to. Yeah. Just got to do it, man.
I am always amazed by the people that will get on a TikTok or an Instagram or some sort of platform and do the same thing over and over and over again and get no response, but yet not change what they're doing at all. And I got like friends of mine that are like 55 and they're still dancing on. I'm like, what are you doing? Like you have children and a mortgage. Like stop it. Like knock it off.
You know what I've figured out is for anything, you got to have a strong opinion about something for people to move. That's why Fox News is so big right now.
Yeah.
Like any news outlet that's way left or way right, they're saying something with a strong opinion to make people move. Yeah. And it's kind of like, unless like my thing I haven't figured out and what we're trying to figure out is like my comedy moves the needle for me and we're trying to make everything else move the needle too. Yeah. So you kind of like got to figure out, but I'm also a dude that I don't want to say I don't have a strong opinion because I have a strong opinion on some things, but it's more like, it's just about my life more than just like critiquing other people and things like that.
And it's also, how much of that do you want to be the content? Like I avoid like political stuff constantly.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
For one, I'm not super educated on anything political, but that's not the space I want to operate in. And then you're instigating people in ways where I personally don't want to. If that's your bag, that's your bag. But you're also having comedy move the needle for you more than anything else. That's where you want to be. That's where I'm I'm in the plane and there's wind pushing against it, and I'm turning it in that direction because so much of my audience thinks that I'm like a TikTok guy who started.
So let me ask you this: when they come to your show, is it the same type of material that would be on your social media platform?
Yeah, if you like my socials,
you'll love
the comedy.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
And I think people leave being like, that was amazing. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do the best. If you like the videos, the show's way better. Dude.
Yeah. That's so cool because a lot of people, it's the opposite. The TikTok is all they got, or the Instagram, and then the show is horrible. We've been to, like I said. So what do you think in your life, like what's been the biggest up so far, and what's been the biggest down in your life so far?
The biggest up and biggest down. I guess the biggest up was when I first blew up on social. When that first, it was like December 2020, I started posting on TikTok consistently. I went by February of 2021, I had 900,000 followers, and my manager reached out. She helped me get my visa. She helped me get signed to WME. She did.
Oh, you were William Morris?
Yeah.
Oh, dope,
dude. She is a shark, man.
Yeah,
she is legendary, dude. And so that was probably the biggest, boom, oh my God, shit's going on. The lowest point was when I moved from, when I say it's low, but I was very happy. But was when I moved from Mexico to Toronto, I was super broke. What happened to me in Mexico is I moved there to be a scuba diving instructor. I started scuba diving and bartending at the same time. I was making good money. I decided to stop doing both because it was kind of really taxing on my body. Started working at a call center. Call center got shut down. They didn't renew my visa. And then I had I was trying to do some visa stuff, and they basically gave me a letter that was like, yeah, you're kind of working here illegally. You got 20 days to leave the country. And so at this time, when I was working on the visa, I was selling tours on the street because the call center had shut down, and I had couldn't find work anywhere else. And so I was like, well, I really want to do this stand-up thing. I'd been doing stand-up for about a year and a bit at this point, and I decided that I was going to sell all my scuba gear to get a plane ticket to move to Toronto and chase stand-up. And that big shout out to this guy Dave, who I worked with at the call center, was kind of like a mentor to me, who said, hey, if I was you, I'd just sell my shit and go. And I was like, I don't know anything. I just have a blender. And then it popped in my head, the scuba gear. I got about $450 for the scuba gear, totally got ripped off, didn't care, bought the plane ticket, moved to Toronto. By the time I got to downtown Toronto, I had $25 left, didn't know anyone in the city. Actually, do you know Tricks?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's so crazy because I only knew of 2 comedians in Toronto.
And what year was this?
This was 2014.
Okay.
And so the place where the bus from the airport dropped me off was at this hostel. There was a comedy show in the basement of the hostel, and Tricks and this other comic, Mark DeBonis, who I learned about from a guy in Mexico who's a Canadian comic, they were both standing up front. And I was like, I know you guys. I know you.
Random.
And I was like, I just moved here to do comedy. And Tricks was super nice. He was like, hey, man, if you need anything.
He's great.
He's like, hit me up. And I was just like, yeah, I was just, I'm like, what the fuck are the chances that the only comedians I know in the city are in front of me right now? But I tried to get a room at the hostel. I couldn't afford it because I had no money. So I went to a Starbucks. I had this little crappy laptop, and I Googled Toronto homeless shelters. I found a youth shelter close by, which was great. Honestly, it was basically a hotel. They gave you a bed. They gave you 3 meals a day. It was to help kids get back up on their feet.
So you were homeless.
I was homeless, but I never slept on the streets. I went there. They were like, we're full, but we can give you a meal. Then someone who was staying there came, and they were drunk, and they have a 0 tolerance policy on any substance use. So they couldn't stay there that night. So then I got a bed, and I stayed there for 6 months. And I told them I moved there to do stand-up. And so they would let me break curfew and go do open mics while I was staying there. And then I moved into intermediate housing, which was the same thing, but no curfew, and you could have your own room and kind of set it up, get to buy some things. And then 2 months there, moved into a comic house, which was this really shitty, grungy house with 3 comics and 1 musician. And it was in a really good area of Toronto, but it was so run down, so the rent was super cheap.
Yeah.
And that was probably the lowest point, was having nothing. But I felt amazing. I felt ecstatic that I was like, okay, I'm in Toronto, I'm chasing my dream, and I have a place to stay.
How old were you?
22.
Okay, great. Good. You're still hungry. You're young.
And I knew, I was like, if I have to, I'll sleep on the streets. And Canada has really good social services, and I was broke in Mexico and scraping by. And I was like, if I can be broke in Mexico and make it work, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. I'll find a soup kitchen or something.
Right.
And so I was just like, just go for it. And I also knew if I moved back to Vancouver and like moved in with my dad, this was when I just started to really have the hunger. My previous self was very lazy. And so I was like, if I go back and move in with my dad, I'm going to be too lazy. I'm going to keep putting it off and go, all I got to say, I'll find every excuse in the book to not go chase it. I was like, you just got to fucking go for it.
Okay. Lowest, what has been the highest point so far?
The highest point, the blowing up.
The blowing up on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's for sure.
Yeah. When I hear people talk about their lowest point at 22, I go, yeah, that's what you're supposed to be doing at 22. Yeah. If you had that same story at 44, I'd go, what's wrong with you? But 22, that's when you should be living in comics houses. And
Hey guys, Dr. Phil. I'm in the makeup chair or the haircut chair. I know I've got none on top, but I got quite a bit between the legs. TMI, HPV, HBO. Michael Yo is a good friend of mine. He's Asian, he's black, and it's good to have a friend with two different ethnicities going on. But he's also funny. He's not just a guy that with an ambiguous face. He's also got a heart that beats inside of him and a wiener between his legs that's full of blood and also passion. So what I mean by that is his comedy special, Snag Daddy, comes out. Okay, somebody just burned a Pop-Tart on an ironing board, but that's not about them. It's about Michael Yo. MichaelYo.com is the website to go to watch his special, Snack Daddy, which comes out January 28th. And depending on when you're watching this promo, the video could be out already. So if you haven't watched the special, watch it, put it in the queue, put the kids in the closet, and shave your head, your back, your pussy, and your crack. We'll be right back. Snack Daddy.
Hey guys, I'm Che Dorena, comedian touring all over the place. You can find all my tour dates at CheDorena.com or punchup.live/Che Dorena. Also, check out my podcast, Dark Holes. It's basically what it is we look at weird internet wormholes that I fall down. It's all about doom scrolling and what I doom scrolled on this week. Come check it out.
Are you ever worried that, because you go to markets and then you just do podcasts, are you ever worried like you're going to drive yourself to the wrong situation where somebody wants to murder you?
No, because every podcast I've done has been substantial. It's never been like super sketch.
I'm so weirded out to go to people's houses.
Yeah.
Like that's one, because when you first told me you do a lot of podcasts, you go to a city and do podcasts. I'm like, I would do that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, nah, I don't know about just going to people's houses.
Lots of times it is a studio. A lot of people just rent studio space. But like, I don't know. I've always been like, say yes to stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, and I've ended up in weird situations sometimes, real weird ones. But I've always been pretty safe. My mom always said I have horseshoes up my ass. That's what she said. Yeah. Are we allowed to swear?
Yeah. Of course. You do you.
Okay.
You do you.
Yeah.
Man, it's so good to have you, Che.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Let me tell you, I got to be honest with you. When you first reached out, I've always known your content.
Yeah.
And I was like, he can't be like that all the time.
No. No.
Is this more of a character he's playing, or is it part of him that's on stage? Because I was like, look, I'm not saying I'm an angel or anything, but I mean, you push the envelope big time, and I love that.
Yeah.
You make me laugh.
Yeah.
I was like, how's that going to fit on the podcast? Even Rudy was like, can we make this work? I go, no. Let me check out some podcasts. And then I was like, oh, he's just a normal dude that just creates fun stuff. Do people get it wrong when they first meet you?
I think sometimes people think I'm going to be like way crazier than I am. I would say the content is, you see one slice of me. You see my sense of humor, which is, it's a very honest representation of my sense of humor. But I'm a fully well-formatted person who has likes and dislikes and interests and opinions outside of just what I do online. So sometimes people think I'm going to be like just a wild dude. And I have had some wild times. But I'm a more fleshed out human being. Yeah.
I read something once about comedy one time where they said the audience only likes about they like one aspect of who you are. They like that one character, and they only like 20% of that character. That's all that they want is just this little tiny sliver. And you're like, but there's so much more inside of me. I'm a man who likes to dance and sing and see Broadway, and they're like, we don't care. Like you tell dirty jokes. It's your job. Get up there and be dirty.
Exactly.
So now you created this image online. You blew up. You're originally from Canada. We all know that. It's been a bad week for half black people or light-skinned black people like us.
Tell me about it.
You know, like we're getting beat down by Kendrick. We're getting Steph Curry's about to retire. I mean, we used to run everything. You know, now what's your ethnicity? I'm just assuming you're half black or full black.
I'm half. My dad's Haitian. My mom she's like French and Dutch, but she grew up in Canada. Like she doesn't, she's very far removed from that. Her parents were born in Canada and everything. She grew up in Quebec, which is French Canada, but she's Anglophone, so she doesn't speak any French. And so so that's my split.
So you know, so how is that in Canada? I mean, I know you live in New York, but like, is that a hard L for Canada, or they don't really care?
I mean, I think Drake is very much like, especially in Toronto, is like a god. And so I think a lot of people have just kind of been like, we're just, a lot of Drake fans are just waiting it out. They're like, it'll be fine once this all blows over, it'll be fine. We'll all go back to normal. But it's been like a whole year of kind of a pummeling.
Abuse. It's now abuse.
I was surprised that Drake responded. That was my surprise, because when he was, when Pusha T did a diss track on him, he didn't respond. And you kind of don't, if you're the bigger personality, you don't want to respond because you don't kill them, you bring them up to you. And I thought he would just if he just didn't respond, that after the first thing, there's no big three, it's just big me. It was also at both of them. It was at J. Cole was involved too, which no one talks about. J. Cole.
No,
J. Cole started this.
J. Cole was like, I'm out. I don't want nothing to do with this.
He started the whole thing, man. And so I think he shouldn't have responded at all, because he only made Kendrick bigger and more.
Well, you're right, and it wasn't even a bad diss. He's just saying, I'm the best. Y'all think you're the best, but I'm the best. And let's leave it alone. Drake, okay, whatever. You know, and then none of this would have ever happened.
None of it. No.
But then that would have created Kendrick Lamar not even doing the Super Bowl, because he wouldn't have been relevant enough to do the Super Bowl.
No, exactly.
How crazy is that? One decision by Drake saying, I'm going to make a diss track, explodes into this rap war, gets Kendrick Lamar
on the
Super Bowl.
Winning multiple Grammys.
Armful of Grammys. And because Drake ego.
He could have just left it. And that would have been the best decision. And it's not like he's hurting or anything.
No,
the dude is doing great. But I think that's all. If you're in some sort of beef with someone, your best decision is usually to leave it unless you benefit from it. Like Ralph Barbosa. I mean, you can't even call that a beef. Ralph was it kind of reminded me of the 50 Cent thing where he's like, what do you say, fuck me for? When, who was it? George
Lopez?
George Lopez called him out, was like, kind of fuck him, whatever. And he had nothing, but
blew him up.
Ralph was already doing really well, and then it just shot him into.
Well, because when some old head talks about you in that manner, you know, it's going to give that attention to the younger person.
Exactly.
Or to the person that's smaller. So,
and Ralph is also extremely talented.
And
he's very funny.
So nice. The nicest dude ever.
He's super.
He's so laid back. He's like, why?
Exactly. He's like, why are you mad at me?
He's like a puppy. Like, like, what's going on?
Exactly.
What's going on over here?
No,
but now I know you're from Canada. How was it for you growing up? What kind of kid were you? What was the home life like?
Home life was decent. My parents, they fought a lot, but it wasn't like I never got hit or anything as a kid. It was just like their marriage wasn't the greatest.
It wasn't great.
And so I kind of just learned how to not be seen, how to kind of move around in shadows and stuff.
So when you're moving around in shadows, does that mean you're a quiet kid, or were you always had a big personality?
With my friends and stuff, I was out there. At home, it was like, just don't ruffle anything, because then someone's going to get angry. But I was always trying to go for a laugh and stuff. We're definitely a very funny family. For as much as there was tension in the house, we appreciated comedy and joking a lot. I've said multiple times that bullying was our love language. We cut each other all the time. Me and my sister still struggle to communicate without bullying each other. Like when I'm nice to her, when I go, like I'm really proud of you, she goes like, why are you talking to me like that?
Oh, speaking about proud of you, Rudy
Yeah.
has this problem
Yeah.
with people saying I'm proud of you
Yeah.
because he thinks it's a slight.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
I've learned over time to let that go, to like.
So you were the same way.
Yeah.
I don't understand this at all. He's like, go ahead, tell why.
Yeah, my thing is people are throwing it around like they had something to do with your success.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. You didn't do anything in this equation. Why
How
are you
does,
proud
how
of
does
me?
a person saying they're proud of you take ownership of that?
Because to me, I feel like it's a very narcissistic thing to say, I am proud of you. There is something that I did to help you get to where you are. That I can't. It drives me insane.
How do you get by a person complimenting you? That does not mean they had anything to do with that.
If you say I'm very happy for your success, I'd say thank you very much. When they say, if my mom said I am proud of you, which she never would, but if she did, I would say, you know what? Thank you. Yeah, you were there from the beginning.
Okay, hang on. So if a person says I'm proud of you, it's a problem. But if somebody says I'm happy for you, that's not them saying, oh, I had something to do with your happiness.
No, proud means that I was in the mix to help you get to where you are at. I am proud of the person that you became because I was there to see you blossom. And I just don't. I don't like the.
What say you, Che?
So I had a big problem with like compliments. Gifts was a big one for me too. For me, it was what you think I need that. You think I need you. You think I can do this all on my own. I would get angry when people gave me gifts.
Yeah.
And if someone complimented me, I'm proud of you. And I learned over time to be like, that's not, that response isn't because of what they're doing. It's because of what I need to fix in me. And so I worked on just letting that go and being like, no, it was coming from a place. I'm not saying this is you. I'm not saying
it is him. It is him. You are nailing it. You don't know about his home life, but I do. You are nailing it right now.
For me, it came from a place of insecurity where I was like, I think like I don't want anyone to think that I'm not independent. And so I had to learn to like let that stuff go. And through like meditation and different things, I was able to calm myself in that.
Yeah,
you need to calm yourself.
I
Rudy.
know, dude. You should try drinking. It also works very well.
But it's also I do understand just standing on business when you feel like someone's being narcissistic.
Yeah. Now see, if in 5 years I have a snack daddy come out and Yo says, dude, proud of you. I would say, thank you.
Yeah.
You were somebody who was there who helped bolster this. You brought it. You helped me do this. Where like just random people I haven't seen since my senior year of high school dropped me lines going, dude, saw that you were with Yo. I heard you guys are going to New York City to do the Gramercy Theater. Proud of you.
Yeah.
What'd you do in the equation? You did nothing.
No, but you haven't said the reason, because Rudy said, I feel they say proud of you is, this is the real reason that eats Rudy, and he hasn't said it yet. They think he wouldn't have made it.
Yeah. Okay.
And now they're saying, oh, I didn't think you would be anything, and you are. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and I'm trying to take credit for this, even though
I don't know where the credit thing comes in. That's an internal issue you need to figure out. Like, what made you? So, what went wrong? I guess in a certain way. I don't know how to rephrase the question, but what went wrong where you're like, yo, I need to take a step back. I need to work on myself. I need to meditate. What tragic thing happened, or something happened in your life where you're like, I need to take control of this?
It was just how I would feel. Like I used to be a very insecure person, and I used to be very angry. It was easy to set me off, and so it was just I didn't.
What age were you when this was happening?
I was probably this is when I left. It all built through my teens, and then when I left home at 18, and then I was like kind of out in the world. My parents were very restrictive. I wasn't allowed to really like go out and do stuff on my own. So as soon as I got a taste of freedom, I was like,
so were they married the whole time?
Yes, they were married.
They were married, but it wasn't a great relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And so there was a lot of stuff I wasn't super well socialized on. I had to learn shit on my own. And then I started to really, I was on my own for so long that you spend so much time by yourself that I was like, why am I like afraid of certain things? Why am I angered by certain things? And I just would sit alone and ask myself those questions and dig inside until I started to realize that these things aren't coming from my own from my own experiences or my own opinions. These are someone else's opinions that were given to me.
Is that from your parents mostly?
From my parents,
Okay.
from different things,
Friends.
from different insecurities that grew in me. I had a really big mushroom trip that, like, I'm not recommending that anyone do psychedelics for psychological help, but I did a very heavy mushroom trip where I felt like the first time I acknowledged where these insecurities were coming from and that they weren't mine.
Did that make you want to do a mushroom trip? You were like, let me try to figure this out through mushrooms, or you're like, I'm gonna get loaded on mushrooms and see what
totally
happens?
an accident.
Okay.
So I had done mushrooms before, but I'd never done them solo. And so I had bought 12 grams of mushrooms, 6 for me, 6 for a buddy.
Yeah.
And I was at a comedy show. This was like, maybe I'm like 2 or 3 years into comedy. I'm at an open mic and I was like, I'm going to eat a little mushrooms and go on stage. I misread the bag. I thought it was a 1 gram bag. It was a 3 gram bag. So I ate like a gram and a half, 2 grams of mushrooms. I get on stage. I have whatever, like not a good set. But then I'm already like, you eat 2 grams of mushrooms, you're already like kind of high.
Yeah.
So I go home. I'm like, I'm like, well, I don't want to like half trip. I want to fully trip. So I eat like another 2 grams of mushrooms. Then I take a towel, I put it over my eyes, and I'm like, I'm just going to like go into the trip and have a good time. And at this point in my life, I was working a ton. I had a job. I was doing stand-up, and I was also trying to stream on Twitch.
What were you doing?
I was a security guard. So I would do security guard overnight, so I could go do shows until like 10 p.m., go to work overnight, and then I would go home from work and try and like stream on Twitch and then sleep for a little bit and just repeat. And the beginning of the trip felt like I could feel my like sinuses clearing and my ears opening up and all this stuff. And I felt like my body was being like, this is going to sound super weird, but it was like showing me what the healing process that happens when you rest. And the mushrooms were like, you need to rest. You're working too hard. You need to relax, value your health a little bit more. And then the next stage was just like going, and then I also ate another 2 grams of mushrooms. So now I'm on 6 grams of mushrooms. And the next stage was just like, I was just laying there with the towel over my eyes, and I just like went through all these. I was like, you're like the way you feel about certain things, these anxiety and insecurities you have. You don't have to feel like this. And pulled out like this certain situation you had with your mom, and this certain situation you had with your dad. This is why you feel like this. And so it opened up my eyes to digging inside yourself and learning how to let go of these things. And even at one point I was like hugging myself and looking in the mirror and saying, I love you, which is super cheesy.
Do you still do that?
I don't do that anymore.
I don't think it's bad.
No.
I wake up with affirmations every morning. I say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm excited for. This is what I'm proud of. Like, I think that's very important because you forget the journey of what you're living. Somebody, no matter what level you're at right now, you're living somebody's dream.
Yeah.
They're dreaming, I wish I could be where they are.
Yeah, for sure. Like anytime, like if I have a weekend where I don't sell as many tickets as I'd like, I think about, I'm like, man, if I went back 3 years and I thought about moving this much at a show, I would have been, I would have lost my mind, dude.
Oh, Rudy's been there with me still today.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of markets I do really well, but there'll be one. We're going to a bunch of new markets where I'm like, only sold this. And my agent would be like, you remember 4 years ago, you would have dreamed about selling the number you sold?
Yeah.
And you just got to remember that. You got to remember it's a journey.
Yeah.
And I love the one thing about you, what I heard on other podcasts and just different stuff, the hustle.
Yeah.
Like, where do you think you learned to hustle from?
So a big thing was so in university, I did 2 semesters of university. I took a scuba diving instructing course, that's a whole other story in itself. Never scuba dived before or anything. My parents just wanted me to go straight to university.
So why'd you want to take that class then?
Because I wanted to do, I didn't want to go like do psychology or something. I was like, I found something where I was like, this is the only thing I really think is interesting. And it was also kind of a bullshit course. And and I also knew I was going to get a job out of it, like immediately in 8 months. That allowed me to travel. I moved to Mexico for 3 years. Like it made sense. And I kind of, through all of middle school, high school, I coasted, I cheated. I even one time in middle school, our math teacher ripped up the answer key to a test and threw it in the recycling, and I grabbed it, taped it all together, photocopied it, and then handed out the answer keys to a bunch of people at school. I was like a Robin Hood for cheating.
I love it.
And so I coasted and cheated through everything. And then the last exam for the scuba diving course was the first time I think I ever studied for anything. And I did great. And I was like, oh, it's kind of within my grasp to have control over my success. And I remember something my dad said to me when I was in, I think, middle school or high school. He's like, every day you come home from school, you throw your bag in the corner, you don't do any work, and you get C's. Imagine who you could be if you tried. And that kind of rung in my head when I started doing comedy, because it was the first thing I kind of did where I felt, oh, I have a passion for this. It feels like it's giving me a purpose, and I really think I could be great at this if I really apply myself. So I was like, just apply yourself. For the first time ever, really apply yourself to something.
Now, your first time on stage was where and how'd it go?
It was in Mexico. And so that while I was living out there, what kind of got me the idea to do it was I would consume comedy like crazy. And I did public speaking in elementary school and high school and would make my speeches funny. And I never thought the idea to do comedy. I thought you had to be famous to do comedy. I thought it was like a byproduct of fame. Yeah. And my brother texted me or called me, and he was like, yeah, I'm doing comedy. And I was like, what do you mean you're doing comedy? And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to open mics. And I didn't even know that was a thing. So I wrote a bunch of jokes. I was like watching comedy on YouTube like crazy. And so I wrote a bunch of jokes with the intention of sending him these jokes. And then I was like, well, if I can write enough for a set, why don't I just
try it? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've like Googled comedy, Playa del Carmen, what's where I was living in Mexico. I found a group of like 4 dudes who were doing stand-up for tourists. And I was like, hey, can I come do a thing? And they're like, yeah. And then I just started doing it with them. And
How was that first time?
I remember it being good. I'm sure if I went back and watched it, it would be really bad. But I remember I didn't leave the stage being like, oh my God, that was horrible. I was like, oh, that was fun. Like that, yeah.
It's interesting. Even my last special, I never thought. Yeah. I was watching clips from that. And I'm gonna go, why am I rushing? Like, it's so crazy how much you feel like you grow in a very short. That was just 2 years ago. And that special changed my life. Yeah. But when I look at it now, I'm like, oh man, that was so young in career wise. Yeah. You know, like I'm so much better now. Yeah. I feel. When you watch your first set, like, did you fall in love with it?
I did.
The first time. That first laugh is just.
It's great. It's great. You're like, oh, wow. Like, I understand kind of how to communicate to the audience and make them laugh. And I think talking to the growth, it wasn't until I think year 7 where I went from like, oh, I know how to say something and they laugh, like a call and response, versus now I'm writing stuff that I truly find funny.
Oh yeah, you finding your voice.
Yes, yeah. And then I was like, okay, now how do I write in this way? And then it took me like a couple years to be like consistently writing.
So how long have you been doing comedy then?
Like 12 years now.
See, and what I love is a lot of people, and I don't know, Rudy's been on these shows where you see people blow up on Instagram, you see people blow up on TikTok. Yeah. Then they try to do comedy. Yeah. Never done comedy. And then they bring, like, I had an instance where they called me to fly me in the next day because this TikToker only had like 15 minutes, not even good material. It would just show his videos. Yeah. We need you to do 50 minutes to open up a show. Yeah. You know, and it's good to know that you're not that guy. You actually put in the work.
I'm very fortunate of that. But it also, I never would have done TikTok or any of those things if it wasn't for stand-up.
100%.
It was everything I've done outside of stand-up has been to fuel more people to the shows.
So how old are you now?
32.
32. Yeah. Okay. How, when you tour now? Yeah. How's it going now? Like, because we all talk, like, we can do a lot of great markets, but those low ones really make you feel low.
Yeah, it's going pretty well now. Like, some markets are way better than others. There's been some sold out weekends. Yeah. There's been some like struggling weekends. Yeah. But like we said, if I was to go back to before I moved to the States, when we were touring in Canada, the way we would tour, because there's no like agents that are like, we're taking you on the road everywhere. There's a big string of comedy clubs called Yuck Yucks, and if you're not signed with them, you don't fucking work. And they don't give you like door deals. They give you whatever they give you. And then there's another thing called Callback that works like the East Coast. We weren't in with either of them. So me and a couple buddies, we would cold call venues and put tours together. Big shout out to fucking Andrew Packer and Jacob Bolshin, who did most of the legwork on booking that stuff, dude. Yeah, they did most of it. I was the face, and I had some credits to help sell it, but those guys did so much work to put those tours together. But the most money we made off of one of those, we did 10 shows at different city every night through Alberta. We each came home with like $5,000 after expenses, which it's not terrible, but Like, and those tours took months to put together.
Yeah.
And so when I moved to the States and I did my first run of shows, we had like a bunch of shows booked, and I was doing one-nighters in every different market to like prove that I could be a weekend guy. At the end of that run over about 3 months, I had 80K, and I was like, whoa, what?
So when did that happen then in your career?
That happened August of 2022. I moved to New York in mid-July. I spent 2 weeks looking for an apartment, found an apartment, and then I moved into my apartment August 1st. August 3rd, I had my first road gig. And then I was just on the road through the rest of the summer into September, into October. And now it's like, oh yeah, we're doing it. And it was great because it was just the pieces coming together. Like it was because my market was vast majority America. You can see in your analytics. Yeah. So it was getting to my people, but it was also like, I've been doing this. There was nothing where I was like, what am I going to do? Like
because you weren't stressed because you did stand up. I've been
headlining in fucking Lac La Biche, Alberta, like bumfuck nowhere, dude. And so I was like, we're going to comedy clubs all across this is going to be a breeze, dude. And then the growth in my stand-up changed so much. Like I just recorded my first special. I just gave the guy the notes and everything.
Where'd you do it at?
In Toronto. So I went back to like where my home's scene.
What place?
Comedy Bar Danforth.
The best,
So
one
good.
of the best comedy clubs I've ever. I told Rudy this.
Yeah.
Man, I love the people that run the club.
Yeah.
And let me tell 150 people in a room. And it's one of the rooms. There's only 4 rooms I've been in where you feel like literally when they laugh,
It's like
you feel it.
Yeah.
It's like that place, La Jolla. It's
La
like that
Jolla.
comedy. So it's same vibe.
so good.
Same vibe. Comedy Cellar in New York's that vibe. And
Yeah.
also there's a room in Denver Comedy Works, a small room. You feel it because they're so close and you just feel I can't wait to go to Comedy Bar, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Congrats on that. When's it come out? Do you know?
We don't know yet. Probably, I would say like 2 or 3 months from now with like what the editor told me in terms of like, he's like, I'll give you this version, then you give me notes, and it'll take me 2 more weeks, and then
you got to color it, and then you got to get it right, the sound and all that.
Exactly.
Now, is this something where you're going to try to pitch it to a Hulu or Netflix, or is this something you got a big platform to put out yourself?
We're going to shop it around, and if someone wants it, for sure, we'll sell it to them. More realistic, we're probably going to go the route of like 800-pound gorilla or like something, but I would love if someone buys it. Right. I truly believe in that product. I've made a lot of different things, TikToks, sketches, podcasts, all those things. And I'm like, this is a really good product. And we recorded something. It was just like on like a couple cameras just to have a proof of concept, to shop it around a little bit. What we showed, which was like a year before it was recorded, is like 50% different than what I recorded. So much of like my ability as a comic from touring in the States and working in the States has like skyrocketed my skills, and what the final product was like way tighter and way better. And there's so much. We did the hour, and then all the shit I cut from the hour that I was like, these jokes are good, but they're not the quality of what I want in the hour. I recorded another 15 minutes after on the late shows to be like, this is the leftovers, and maybe I'll put out like a little thing later.
Yeah.
But
or keep them, fine tune them, and now you're ahead in your next special.
Maybe,
There was 3 jokes I didn't put in my last special. That I'm literally gonna open up like the next special with, because they'll be better too. You keep crushing them and crushing them. So now you got, if you don't mind me talking, you got a girlfriend?
Yes.
Now, what does she think of your online persona? Does
she knew everything going in. She was like, I knew who you were.
Okay.
Yeah, she understands how grimy I am. Yeah. she knows.
I mean, I guess with your following, you must get a lot of DMs. You must get a lot of.
Oh yeah. But I mean, now that stuff just doesn't get opened. It just like just gets pushed to the side. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. See, me, like I was telling her, I've never gotten a DM.
Really?
I've been married 9 years, and it was before that. But I've never. I would just think I'm not a bad looking guy. I would think at least somebody would send me something.
Yeah, somebody.
It makes me feel like I'm ugly now. You know? Never got a DM.
I mean,
like a picture or something like that. You know?
My stuff is so out there sexually and like very sexually like liberated that it opens the door for a lot of it.
It does.
So a lot of ladies who would reach out to me were just like, well, this makes me feel comfortable. because like I have these thoughts and I'm interested in this. Yeah. So that was the catalyst.
I'm so jealous. Everybody who slides into my DMs are just like Proud Boys from Texas. They're like, you know what I mean, brother? I'm like, no, I don't know what you mean, dude. We are so far opposite. No, I don't know what you mean. Yeah.
But also I had like, I toured and was in the streets. Like I was single for like 6 years.
Oh, so you were in it.
Like,
you were in it.
Yeah, I was in it and I've kind of like done it. And it's like, how far do you, and I also part of what we spoke about before, like doing the work on myself.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I was like, oh, I can let that side of me go. And I had a ton of fun and I did all that crazy shit. And now I can move on to whatever the next stage of my life is going to be. But it's like if I stayed in that pocket and stayed in that mindset for too long, it's like watching a fighter fight after their prime and it starts to get sad.
It's like the old lady at Hooters.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you should have stopped like 20 years ago.
Exactly. So very happy to move on from that. And I was, I was completely ready. Like I remember having the moment of like being like, oh, I'm ready to meet a person. Like I want to meet someone now.
Yeah. I had that same thing. I was 37 though. And I woke up and I was like, I saw my own funeral. Yeah. I literally saw, it was just nothing but random women around like my casket. I was like, if I die, that's my legacy.
My dream funeral. That's where it's at.
Yeah, no matter where you are in your life, some people it's a dream. But literally it's just all the people I hooked up with. And I was like, oh my God, like I need more. But it took for guys, it takes a lot longer, man.
Yeah, it does. It takes longer. And I think my buddy talked about, we were talking about the Wilt Chamberlain thing, how he's like, he slept with 20,000 women. And he has that quote being like, I would have rather slept with one woman 20,000 times. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, but that's because you did it.
Right?
Yeah. You don't have the
that's like rich people saying, oh, all the money doesn't change anything.
Exactly.
It's like, well, you're rich. Yes. Yeah. You don't know the other side of that coin.
Exactly. So he doesn't have a grass is greener thing because he's seen both sides of the thing. So yeah, I had my fun. I partied my face off. I went to weird places with weird people, and now I'm like, I can fucking pull back a little bit. I'm also ready for that stuff. Like my interests have changed. What I'm working on has changed. I'm more excited to like hit the gym and get my routine in order than to wake up hungover and call up my buddy and be like, are we going to keep the bender going?
Yeah. Now, when you go back to Canada, do you sell out all the shows? Are you like a hero over there now?
I do well in Canada. Yeah. Canada markets are really good for me. Yeah.
Especially, I would imagine Vancouver is great for you.
Vancouver is great for me. I did a theater show with JFL at the Vogue, and like so many people I went to middle school with.
Oh, that's so awesome,
dude! It was so good, dude. That felt really, really nice.
Is JFL? It still goes on?
I don't know what the status is.
I thought I saw like a Vancouver show happen. Jason Chinney was on it.
Yeah, there is a JFL, but it's in like
I thought it was Vancouver,
Bahamas or something. Like there's something that's going on JFL, like Bahamas, because Alonzo Bowden was just there. He just did like the JFL.
Chinney, somebody was just in Vancouver, but it was usually in Toronto, right? JFL?
No, Montreal.
Yeah.
They had a Toronto one as well that came. JFL 42 happened after. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Or is that just dead now? So it's still going on, kind of.
I've heard that it like died and then got resurrected, and like I have no clue what's going on, but it's something's going on.
Yeah. So do you still, since you're a comic like me, I don't consume comedians that are the same taste of me. That's why I watch Dave Chappelle. I'm not a really social, I don't talk about social issues and things like that. So I watch the Dave Chappelle. I'm not angry, so I watch like Bill Burr. Those some people that totally are out of my range. Yeah. Do you still consume a lot of comedy because you're a comic?
Yeah.
You do.
I still there's certain guys that I will always check out. Like I like Shane, I think is Shane murders. And I remember when I saw his first special, I was like, oh my God, because we were also kind of starved for bro-y content for a while. Yeah. So it was like, it felt so good. But there's definitely people I'll check out. I don't finish a lot of them. Yeah. But like Nate Bargatze put out a new one. I was like, I gotta see, what are people working with? What's going on? Why do people love these guys? But I watch way less than I did before. And sometimes I watch it and it feels like homework.
Yeah, I feel like when I watch, I never want to know or even think in the back of my head I got an idea
Yeah.
or a concept. Even though comedy is layered with same concepts over
Yeah.
dating, marriage. I mean, it's the same concept.
Yeah.
But I never want to think that, oh, I heard that somewhere.
Yeah.
So this is where I got that idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my
No, I totally get it. Like I don't watch as much as I used to at all, but they're like when someone who's like I saw Bergazzi was the biggest touring comic of the year.
So crazy.
And so I was like, well, I got to see what this guy's cooking.
Yeah.
What's the appeal? Why does everyone love this guy? And then watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this rips. This is really fucking funny.
It hits. Yeah. You know what's great is it's kind of like going through because I'm 13 years in the comedy. And what's great about it is you find out when you first start, you want everybody to like you.
Yeah.
Then once you find your voice, you're like, oh, I don't care about everybody. I just want my people to like me.
Yeah.
And then once you get to another level, you're like, I don't even care if the audience, like I'm just building as a comic.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna like what I say.
Yeah.
But now it's about me building my comedy chops, basically.
Yeah. 100%. And I think that when you keep refining it like that, you just get better and better and better. That's why some of the dudes, like someone like Louis C.K. or like Bill Burr, they're like in their 40s when they are defined as the comics we know them as now. Because it's like 10 years in, I was like, okay, I'm funny, but I'm just starting to really get good at writing what I like to write. And now I need to figure out how to refine that even more.
Yeah.
And you have to keep going through that process over and over.
I think even like the greats are still doing that.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
even I guarantee you, because I've been at shows with Dave Chappelle, and after he gives you the good chunk, the rest is him figuring out, and to see somebody as big as Dave Chappelle mortal, just be like, oh, he has to work on stuff too.
Yeah.
He's not always funny. Now, he starts in a way further position than a person that, like, where, okay, that concept was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But you're like, okay, this is fun. It was great for me to see him rip for like an hour.
Yeah.
But the better part was watching him an hour not do well.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, he's working it out. And just as a comic, when I was there with other comics, you try to justify him not doing well.
Yeah.
Because he's so great. You go, oh, see, he's so brave
to
take these chances. It's like, no, he's bombing.
Yeah, he's bombing.
And
but
he needs to. As he should.
Yeah. And he has the grace with the audience to really bomb. He can take a thing that is like has no pieces. He's like, I had this kind of idea.
Yeah.
And I'll stretch it for as long as I can.
Can you imagine the freedom?
Oh, it must
just
be
to be
nice.
able to. I saw Bill Burr once in a 5,000 seater.
Yeah.
You know, like just work on a new hour.
Yeah.
And it was funny.
Yeah.
But this was like one of his first times doing it. And it's kind of like just knowing the audience is so with you built a brand so much, they want to see you attempt stuff that might not work.
Yeah.
You know, we'll do shows sometimes and I'll be like, Rudy said, can I try new stuff? And the audience is like, yeah, they love to see the vulnerability.
Yeah. When I do that at probably at the 45-minute mark, I go, I'll give you guys some new ones. I always start with a newer one that I know bangs.
Yeah.
So I get the confidence. They go, oh, these new ones are great. And so if the next one's ass, then I'm like, oh, but there's a good one coming.
Yeah.
Is that how you work out new material?
Yeah.
Now, how do you get your clips for stand-up? Are you a guy because what I've learned is I'm not a crowd work guy necessarily, but I'm great at a Q&A.
Yeah.
Like a lot of comics, like what I do is like, I hardly ever do this, but I'll take questions. And then that's where I get a lot of my clips.
Yeah.
How are you? Are you audience throughout your show or?
I do audience throughout the show. And usually I will have like a couple questions like logged. Like, okay, with these, I've been trying to come up with new ones. I'll write try to come up with clever questions the same way as coming up with bits.
Of course.
Like some work in some markets better than others. Like Spokane, Washington, the best question: who here's been to prison? That question rips in Spokane, Washington, dude. Yeah.
I've ridden the bus there. There's a lot of people that have been to prison. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
Why?
It's a rough town, and it's kind of like it's almost a place you go to like run away. Like it's a tough
It's Alaska.
Yeah.
It's Alaska. Okay.
Yeah. And so if I go like, hey, who here's been to prison? 10 people in the audience got like, hey, woo, what? And they got crazy stories. One dude told this story about how his girlfriend ran him over with the car. She like caught him cheating, and she was driving at him and like went to run him over, and he shot at her, and she ducked, and the bullet went through the headrest, and then she hit him with the car. And I was like, "Did you go to prison?" He's like, "No, I had a good lawyer." Oh, that's crazy. Dude.
I hope she went to prison though.
I mean, I don't know what happened. We didn't know. We didn't get the play-by-play on her, but there's some, I think, in certain markets, and there's some things I always like to try and craft something that's about the place to see what I can pull out. Like, usually a good opening thing is like, oh, what's your city about? And so I was just in Jersey, and I got this really good back and forth on pork roll and Taylor ham, which is the same thing, but it's like a cut of meat, like a bacon, egg, and cheese, but it's like a big cut of pork. But they call it different things in different regions. Yeah. And so they're like, no, it's a pork roll, Taylor ham. And these guys are yelling at each other. And so that is always a good one to get a very localized thing that relates to the people. When I was in, one of my best clips was when I was in Chicago. I was like, oh, what's Chicago about instead of that isn't food? And they were like, Malort. And I was like, what's Malort? And the crowd loses it. And it's this booze that tastes like ass. Oh, and I do a shot on stage and then riff on how bad it tastes. But that, I always find that's a good one to get something specific.
Because it goes viral in that market too. And then other people watch it that are 100%. That's awesome, man. Yeah. That's awesome. So now I know earlier we talked about your girlfriend. Are you a type of dude that says, I'm going to get married and have kids? Or are you a type of dude to get married, no kids? Where are you? What do you think? What kind of guy are you?
I'm uncertain on it right now. Like, I think the thing we have going is great, and it's like
regardless of her, are you a dude in your future that would have married kids? Or?
I've always been uncertain on kids. Marriage is to me like I'm not someone who's like anti-marriage or I don't believe in marriage or something like that. But I'm like, yeah, if my person wants it, I'll do it because it means nothing to me. Like I don't think it strengthens the relationship or weakens the relationship. It's just is some people want it, some people don't, and some ladies really want to get married. And so if you really love this person, they go, I want to get married. I go, yeah, I'll do that for you. Yeah, 100%. The kids, I'm not sure yet. Like, I'll hang out with my sister's kids. She has 3 girls.
Oh, man.
And sometimes it's awesome. And then sometimes I'm like, I said to my sister, I'm like, they always need something from you. And she was like, yeah, that's what it is.
That's
your parent. Yeah, he has a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah. And so I'm still uncertain on kids. But I've been doing a bit about having dad fantasies about like, you know, thinking about like, yeah, if I have a little boy, he'll be a little wrestler and like how you would raise your kid and stuff. So the idea is floating around in there.
Yeah, it's not like that. No, it's not like that. I have a son and I was like, oh, he's going to be football. He's going to be I mean, he's an athlete.
Yeah.
But he does not like anything I grew up with.
Yeah.
He's like in the ninja stuff, like the American Ninja Warrior where they swing
like the
and
parkour kind of.
He's all into that. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, I wish they had stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that's what's so cool. These kids, man, they got so much stuff that we didn't have growing up.
Yeah.
Even your age, they got way more stuff.
Oh, dude, I was like huge into video games, still am. Yeah. Like I play video games consistently.
Is that what you twitch about video games?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Me and my buddy Cameron, he's also a comic, very funny dude. We'll stream whatever we're cooking with right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been a huge gamer for a long time. Yeah.
See, in my thing, we started with gaming. I kind of fell off on it, but like all the games started with my generation. Like the Atari 2600 and then just built from there. Yeah. And now I can't even play the games because they're so real.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have anxiety. like I get physically scared. I was playing this game and somebody jumped out. I was like, ah! Yeah. Like, I don't want to feel that. No, I'm too old for that. No.
Very fair.
I do not want to feel. So what's next for you? What, like, if you could check off something on your box next, what would it be?
So we're working on a couple of things. We're working on some like mainstream TV stuff, and hopefully that works out well. Yeah. Honestly, like I said before, it all just comes back to stand-up. So I'm hoping that the special like really
opens that door.
Yeah, and then we can just keep moving stuff with stand-up. And I'm already got a new hour because I went into this with like 30 minutes already. Yeah. And now it was just this past weekend in Tulsa where I kind of all the pieces were where they were, and I'm like, okay, I like the way this feels, and it's still a long way from being able to come out, but. So it's just like refining and being excited about writing from a different place and writing new material and just constantly improving. Like my focus is always just get better. Like I think I'm very funny now, but I do think I have a long way to go, and I think I can get a lot better.
Now, are you a writer or do you sit down and write? Because I don't write. I'm more of a concept guy, and I would kind of beat it out on stage and just write bullet points. What type of writer are you?
I sit and I write.
Okay, gotcha.
My whole writing process. So I'll sit down. I always like to have coffee because the caffeine gets me to more like almost like a manic state. I want to have that caffeine energy. I'll spend 5 to 10 minutes looking. I have a folder on Instagram called The Best, and it's literally videos that I have made me laugh. And I'll scroll and look at those until I'm laughing out loud. And then when I'm in that energy, I go, okay, let's write. And I'll have like a concept ready to go. And I'll start walking around my apartment, just saying, I'll like just say the first thing and then just start like rambling. And then I eventually maybe get to a place where I start laughing like from what I'm saying. I go, okay, write that down. And then I just keep repeating that process.
Have you found your audience mostly laughs at what you laugh at?
They enjoy. We have a similar sense of humor. Yeah.
Nice. And so you're on tour this week at Wise Guys, but I know this is going to come out in a couple of weeks. Where are you going to be?
I'm going to be in a couple of weeks. I'll probably be getting ready to go to California, I think. Yeah, California. We got 2 shows in Cali. We got Brea and San Jose, both one-nighters, and then I'm flying right to Salt Lake City after that. So that's probably where I'm going to be around. If you want to catch me, go to chadarena.com. That's where you can find all my tour dates.
All right.
Or punchup.live/chadarena. Have you got on Punch-Up?
No, what's that?
Oh, dude, you got to get on Punch-Up.
What's Punch-Up?
I said this on another podcast too. I'm not, this isn't branded or anything.
We're going to find out you cash a big check from Punch-Up.
I just think it's a great tool for comics. Yeah. So it's you can get people will sign up for Punch-Up, and if they like subscribe to you can you get like an email contact with them. So you have like your list of fans, and you can email all those people directly. So you have like direct contact with your fans. You get people to sign up for your mailing list. Then you can see what city they bought tickets from and all this stuff. It's all the data in this website, and you can also post clips on there. And so everyone who's on Punch-Up, it's like YouTube for just stand-up. They all are huge stand-up fans. So if you post something,
is this a video platform or is this a newsletter platform?
Both.
Okay,
it's all in one. Dude, it's great, and they've got big comics on there. Like,
I do believe you have to be asked to be on it, though, don't you?
Maybe, but you can reach out.
Yeah, I think so. You got to ask. Yeah. They have to approve you. It's kind of a thing. But
that's cool to be approved because you don't want everybody to have
that. No, every open micer on the planet would have one of these if they didn't. Yeah, so,
but they got, like, I know Louis C.K.'s on there, Larry David's on there.
All the guys, Yep.
So, dude, the guy who runs it, I had, like, a meeting with him, like, when I was like, hey, teach me about the platform and everything, and I got on there. He's just like, why don't you guys have all this data? Why don't you have all this info? Like,
100%.
Your fans are coming to the show and buying tickets. Why don't you get their emails? And I'm like, yes, dude.
It's all about data now.
It's all about data.
It's all about data, man. It's all about pixels. It's all about knowing where your audience is.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we first started comedy, when I first started like 10 years ago, it was all about the emails.
Yeah.
Then when social came out, people were like, you don't need email. I wish I would have continued getting emails those 10 years. Because if you go to a market and you have 5,000 fans, they said to be a successful comic, all you need is 800 tickets a market.
Yeah.
Just think if you had a database of now 10 to 15,000.
Yeah.
You sell out before it's even announced.
Yeah.
You send a newsletter, done.
Yeah.
It's sold out.
Dude.
And
100%. Oh, something you can do is what I do at my shows is, so I'll always give away like something at a show, like some free merch or something. Yeah. I put QR codes on every table. Yep. Let's say, hey, scan this, fill this out, get entered in a chance to win some free merch. And then you just start collecting emails through that. That's a huge
Well, there's another program I'm about to start using called Hive.
Okay.
Have you heard HIVE?
No.
Hive is the ultimate platform for that, where you put, when you're in a club, QR code, but it gathers all the information, and then it actually picks the winner out, whatever you pick, randomly. Right there live.
Okay.
So then you go, all right, it's going to pick randomly, and then you just call out the name. It picks it randomly.
So
you
smart.
give up. So that's what it is, getting data now.
Yeah.
All the comics, if you're watching this, it's all about getting your own data. And that's how it makes you valuable.
And you should have it.
You should have. These clubs should be given, but I know they won't. But
they are going, like, the way the market's shifting with, like, because the relationship with the clubs before was you come headline, you build your audience through headlining, and there's this symbiotic relationship.
Yes.
Now it's like we sell all the tickets and we show up and they go, oh, we're keeping all the data. It's like, but no, we still need some.
There's a shift too where now, like I know as far as me, we're doing a lot of places that aren't clubs.
Yeah.
We're doing theaters, even like some theaters 500, some theaters 1,000.
Yeah.
Some theaters 400.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's shifting you out of clubs. So when you go to those theaters, you get all that information.
Yeah.
And that's the shift I'm starting to see. Like, but I was telling Rudy this too, and you know this. If you do a theater, you don't have the club support. It's you.
Yeah.
It's you. So
Yeah.
you find out how valuable you are in each market.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the clubs are going to have to make that adjustment.
They won't. No, they don't.
But-
Because there's always the next generation coming
Yeah,
in.
I guess so. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like if I'm a club, I never want to give away my data.
Yeah.
Why would I want to give you, Che, all your data of your fans so you can go to rent out a theater and sell it out?
I mean, just then I'll come back to you.
They say that. They say that. Trust me, I know a lot of big comedians. They say that.
Yeah.
And every club I go to, they were like, "Hey, I remember when they were here and they said they would come back, and now they're selling out arenas.
Yeah.
Why would they come back to this club?"
Yeah.
I give props to Fluffy though. He still goes back to the clubs.
Oh yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time, man.
Gives them
All
the
time.
love.
Was that us talking about Jim Jeffries when he was at like the Philly Punchline?
No.
Maybe that I thought it was us, but like he walked out after going there to work out material for a weekend, and this is at the height of Jim Jeffries.
Yeah.
And he walked out and he looked up and he saw the sign and went, "Well, I'll see this place on the way back down."
Yeah, 100%. You need the clubs, man, and that's why you'll never burn that bridge, because when those theaters and those arenas go away, you back in the clubs.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You know?
And I mean, I want to work the club. I love working the clubs.
I do too.
It's just like let's have a little bit more of a mutual understanding.
Let's not. I'm a club. No.
Yeah.
Well, we're not gonna. No, you work. I'll pay you your little door thing, whatever. But you're not getting my information.
Yeah.
That's how it's gonna go down. Hey, man, Che, thank you so much for stopping
Thank you
by.
for having me, man. Yeah.
I really appreciate you. Where can people find you?
Check out my podcast, Dark Holes with Che Dorena. That's streaming on all platforms. We're on the Gas Digital Network now. You can find all tour dates and everything at CheDorena.com or punchuplive.com/Che Dorena. And everything else, just go to Che Dorena on all platforms. CHEDURENA.